Check one, two, check one, two. I think we are good to go. Anyways, welcome to my first ever live stream. Obviously, this is cost-effective mining. I don't have a name that I'll be using for myself anyways to start off. But basically what I want to cover in this live stream instead of doing a video is just give you my overall thoughts on the market, profitability. Am I considering buying GPUs? Am I not buying GPUs? As well, I figured I would try opening it up for a little bit of Q&A. Of course, this is unscheduled, so I don't actually think anyone's going to watch. But for those of you who are going to watch this in a replay, I hope to have some good information in here so it is worthwhile watching all the way through. So a couple things I want to touch on in this video is quickly, of course, the RX 574 gigabyte profitability, touch on a little bit of the crypto prices and what's been going on in the last month or so, kind of what my thoughts are on the pricing as well, just look at a couple of the network hash rates, kind of what I would do in those normal RX 574 gigabyte profitability updates. Also, wanted to quickly touch on later on in the stream is Ethereum mining profitability, which pool to mine to. Because a lot of people actually have been looking into that, I believe, over the last month or so. People debating, should you mine on Crazy Pool, Flex Pool, should you mine on Ezil for Zilliqa and stuff. So hopefully in this live stream, I'll be able to give you my thoughts on that. So first things first, we'll just start with Bitcoin price. I know a lot of you guys can look this up yourself, but I'm just going to go over this so we have a basis of what we're looking at throughout the stream. First of all, Bitcoin sitting around $42,000, kind of not looking so good over the last week or two. We had news about, I believe a lot of the market started to go down after the Evergrande news in China, which is the big real estate company there, which started, I believe, moving crypto down. And then just last Friday, China announces they're going to ban more crypto. So that apparently is what's moving the market down. So overall, the market's just doing what the market's doing. I don't really have any thoughts on it besides that. The overall crypto value is down. Now, moving on to profitability more, this is where I will set in our custom hash rates for the RX 574 gigabyte cards with the accurate power consumption, because this is where I do have that RX 574 gigabyte mining rig I recently purchased back in, I believe, the end of July, beginning of August. So that is actually sometime in August, I believe, early August I purchased it. So that's something I still need to calculate and make sure I can break even on, or also potentially consider, okay, I've mined for at least a month or two now, should I also consider reselling the rig? Does it make sense to keep it? Or yeah, basically, as I said, sell the rig off and make sure I recoup my initial investment there. So I'm just punching in the numbers here for the RX 570 with the wattage numbers. If you are curious, this is for at the wall wattage numbers, which means this is not in software. And a lot of people seem to get confused with why in my videos do I talk about much higher wattage numbers than what people see in their software. And like HiveOS, for example, a lot of people will message me on those Ravencoin overclocked videos and be like, hey, I'm getting like 14 mega hash at like 85 watts or maybe 100 watts. Why are you saying you're getting 135 watts at the wall for only 12 mega hash? Are your settings bad or something? But what really it comes down to is they are measuring in software and I'm measuring at the wall after considering you have a little bit of extra power efficiency from the power supply. So if you have a 90% efficient power supply, 100 watts at the from the GPU pulling on the 12 volt rail is going to turn into more like 110 watts at the wall, give or take. So I believe we do have our hash rate set here for Ethereum Classic. One thing I will do is actually take Ethereum out of the equation, so we'll just leave that at 0 set. I pay 12.5 cents per kilowatt hour on average here. So if I hit calculate, currently at the moment, looks like there's some random coin here, SafeX, just gonna ignore that. But what we're mainly looking at here, and welcome for those of you who are joining the live stream for the first time ever, you're more than welcome to chat in the chat there. It is for subscribers only, and I'm doing that one, because if you're subscribed, you can ask questions. As well, the second reason is to avoid bots or spammers and stuff like that. So yeah, I know it is getting late now. It's like 6 o'clock here Eastern Standard Time in North America, and a lot of you guys are probably Europe, Asia as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I think my viewership is Europe, Asia, and maybe a little bit of Australia. Hello, Jose. Gabriel says nighttime. Yeah, I mean, it just depends where you're at. Where I am, it's just about dinner time, so I can't stream for too long. Audio is crisp. That's great. I didn't actually check whether my audio playback was good or not. I just went with it. But yeah, anyways, we're going to look at the profitability. This is for the RX 574 gigabyte. Again, so I'll repeat myself here. The reason I'm doing this Dominican Republic. Oh, same time then. It's not too bad then. So I guess you can stick around for the stream. Yeah, I'm just quite a bit north from where you're at. I'm up in Canada. But yeah, what I wanted to mainly look at was the RX 574 gigabyte. Mainly, I purchased one of these rigs in August, I believe. I just can't remember with time. Everything's just been so busy for me lately, just with family stuff, but also just mining in general. Some Goblin Loser IDK, welcome to the chat. If you have any questions, you can put them there. Hopefully, I'll be able to get to your questions. 14:49 time where you're at. Nice. I mean, it's only early afternoon. You're probably, I would guess you're probably west coast of North America then, or down south further. But yeah, basically currently profitability at the moment for the 4 gigabyte cards isn't looking too good once you calculate in the power costs. Of course, revenue wise, mining is still really good if you are on these 4 gigabyte cards. This is something that I'm personally going to be monitoring very, very closely on my cards, is what is my actual profitability going to be looking like if prices continue to go down. So as you see, obviously the last 2 weeks haven't been so good for crypto across the board. Bitcoin's dropped quite a bit. Ethereum's dropped, I believe, 2-3 weeks ago. We were sitting at a $4,000 ETH. Now it's at 2,900. This morning it was at 2,800. So this is where, of course, you also need to figure out what your cash out strategy is to ensure that you get your initial investment back for mining. But yeah, currently at the moment, sitting at just around $1. I'm just going to average it at about $1 because prices do fluctuate. For Ethereum Classic is what I'm earning in revenue, and after power costs, I'm sitting at around 80 to 70 cents. So this is where I need to be very careful. If Ethereum Classic, either the network difficulty doubles or the price of the coin starts to go lower, I need to be really careful with, okay, how close are my margins on profitability? One bonus thing now that it is getting a lot cooler outside is I don't have to run air conditioners anymore. I didn't have to run any AC to cool my rigs, but I had to run additional air conditioning to keep the house cool. So now, of course, you can deduct that AC cost. So basically, in this profitability calculation, this never accounted for by the dip. Well, I'll answer questions in a bit. I just want to quickly get over this first. But yeah, you can load the chat up with questions, and we'll probably just dive into that. I can give you my opinion on stuff. Of course, whatever I talk about is not financial advice. I'm just going to give you my own thoughts, experiences of someone who's been mining now for a year. Because if you guys want a backup story, I started mining last year around August, September. I bought 2 mining rigs. So I just got lucky. That's 100% of it. I was not smart. I was not being super proactive, thinking that we're going to go into a bull market. I just got lucky. So I made pretty good money on the equipment. So, I mean, yeah. Anyways, profitability wise, all I'm trying to say here in the stream, just to wrap it up, watch your numbers, know how much your electric costs, what's your expense, what's your income, and have a plan for how are you going to ensure to protect your initial investment so you don't lose money. And yeah, you can come out of this with potentially a great profit. But yeah, 4 gigabyte card profitability is looking pretty good at the moment. Ergo, Ravencoin, Ethereum Classic, all looking really good for mining. If we load all coins here, I think I have to check this here. The other coin that I do like to look at is, we're not going to do alerts, is Xhaven, but that hasn't been profitable or hasn't been competitive in profitability for a little while. Anyways, let me read chat here. Let's see who we have in chat. We have Jose and some Goblin. Okay, so he says, not financial advice, buy the dip is his question, or is this one of the instances of catching a falling knife? That is actually a really good question. It's something that, obviously, I'm not trying to overhype this question, but that's something that I think a lot of us are thinking about. And welcome to the live stream for those of you who are just hopping on there. It says we have 6 viewers, but it is subscriber mode only, so if you'd like to leave a comment, you do have to subscribe and wait 5 minutes. Of course, you can unsubscribe after, but I do actually have a lot of good mining content on the channel. You should take a look. It's really good. That is actually something really fascinating. Going back to your question of, like, is this a case where we're buying, like, by the dip or we're catching the knife? And that's something, like, I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I can't say for sure. But what I am trying to do personally for myself is come up, like, okay, what prices am I going to want to sell my coin at? How am I going to make sure that my electric is paid at the end of every month? So right now I've been sitting on some Ethereum Classic. I've been busy this month. I haven't had a chance to sell. So that means when Ethereum Classic was all the way up at $70, I did not sell. So obviously that sucks because I didn't stick to my plan of, like, you know, sell every week or two. But I mean, we're only human. And I was kind of busy. Unfortunately, if I had more time available, I would have definitely kind of exited my Ethereum Classic position a little bit more there. When I say position, it's not like I have a ton of ETH Classic. It's just that whatever I mine, so on the 400 mega hash of Ethereum Classic, what would that estimate here of daily profitability? So 400 mega hash, I'm making around $15 a day. Minus, let's see, 400 mega hash, so that's 13 GPUs times about 150, so that's like 1500 watts. So if you do 1500 watts, yeah, you're probably looking at like $5 in electric cost. So I'm probably only making around $10 a day profit right now on that mining rig that I purchased. So I'm looking at still a good 230 days to ROI on it as of today's current pricing and if I sold today. But yeah, the biggest thing to kind of watch is that because we don't know whether or not like we're just going to go off a cliff here and end up back into the red zone, basically, like maybe we're going to hit 20,000 Bitcoin again or 30,000 Bitcoin. I don't know. If the biggest thing is try to have a hedge strategy. What I mean by that is if the price goes up and your GPU mining, which most of us who watch our channel are, you have your mining rigs to bring in revenue every month. Now, at the same time, you have crypto, which if the price goes up, yes, you do get that benefit of like the profitability is now better because you mined Ethereum when it was at $2,000 and went up to $3,000, so you got another 50% of profitability. On the flip side, you have your electric bill, which let's assume is locked in at $500, and if your Ethereum goes from like $3,000, $4,000 down to $3,000 down to $2,500, you're down a lot. So in this case here, I'm personally not buying any crypto, but this is obviously just myself. I'm very conservative. Like I don't have a ton of other income, so that's where I'm being personally conservative with what I have at the moment. So it's like I'm starting to cash out into stablecoin and cash out into normal bank accounts and stuff. But yeah, I'm personally not looking to buy any dip. I'm just looking at how do I sell out the crypto that I've already mined. And that's where I do speculate little bit. Like I wait a week or two to see, okay, if the prices go up, then yeah, I speculated. I made a little bit of extra profitability on that week or two of mining. At the same time, if the prices went down, which they have over the last month or so, and as I mentioned, I did not sell my Ethereum Classic, that means that my profitability for this month has gone down quite a bit. Probably, I think ETH Classic was sitting at, let me see, I can correct myself, but I believe that Ethereum Classic was upwards of $75, $72. So $72 down to around 45. You pretty much dropped like 40% there. So yeah, like there's a good percentage drop from 70 to 40. So I mean, I don't know. I'm personally kind of, I'll repeat myself again, I'm not buying any dip at the moment. I'm not a trader. I'm just going to put that out there. I don't trade cryptocurrency. I just mine it and sell it and take a profit. I'm very simple that way. All right, let me just move on, see if there's any... That's my thoughts. Like, I don't have an answer for anyone. I can't tell you, like, what to do, what not to do. I'm not a technical analysis guy. What I do look at, though, is the normal markets, because I believe crypto is tied to normal markets, normal financial markets. So I try to do a little bit more research into, like, for example, that Evergrande, that big company in China, potentially not being able to fulfill their pay an interest payment on a large amount of debt that they have. So that affects the economy. That adds, unease, or people are, concerned about potentially like a default or creating a crash like that. But anyways, let me see what Jose has to say here. You've bought my first GPU mining Ethereum, GTX 1078 gigabyte. Would you say we can still have success building our first rig at this time? Personally, I'm not looking at buying and jumping into mining unless you're buying equipment at a stupidly cheap price. And what I mean a stupid cheap price, I mean GTX 1070, which currently has about the same profitability. Well, I mean on ETH it's a little bit better. Let me go here. I can just give you a real time example here. We'll find our GTX 1070. This is an older card. It probably gets around 28 mega hash, I believe, on Ethereum. Okay, so yeah, Ethereum, you're probably doing around 27 mega hash at around 130, 150 watts. So, I don't know. What I mean a stupid cheap price would be like, I would buy a GPU now if I can ROI on it within 2 months. If I can't ROI on it within 2 months, I'm not personally looking to buy a GPU unless you're in a situation where you have a gaming PC, you have an old GPU, and you want to upgrade your gaming PC. If you're going to upgrade your gaming PC, like for myself here, I have an R9 380 in my main system, because I only play League of Legends, so I don't need anything crazy. But like, let's say I want to do video editing and something more professional, I could justify buying like an RTX 3060 Ti or 3080, putting it in my gaming PC and mining on the side, because one, I'm going to buy the GPU anyways, and second, why not mine on it to get a rebate? So that would be my thought. But at the moment, unless you have like a 2-month, 3-month ROI after electric, I'm personally not looking at buying any GPUs at the moment. And of course, it sucks to like look at this long year of mining and seeing how so many people have succeeded or whatever, and thinking like, oh my god, did I miss out big time on this crazy opportunity? But at the same time, there's a time to get in and there's a time to get out. and there's something called luck. And that's why when I first bought my mining rigs last year in around August, September, November, December, it was strictly luck. I didn't say, oh, I have like $1,000 saved up and I'm going to spend it all on crypto. Like, let's use the $1,000 example. If I had $1,000 last year in August, I probably was looking at, okay, you know, these RX 5700 XTs, they're going to ROI in probably 8 or 9 months with my current electric rate and what I know with mining. So if I put, let's say, $300 of that $1,000 saved into some mining rigs, then best case scenario, I ROI on this equipment and I can potentially make a little profit. So that's maybe a nine month time horizon. Worst case scenario, I can flip these into gaming PCs. And then like the worst case scenario where my equipment like all dies and is worth nothing, I still have 70% of my capital available to do other things like pay for like bills and stuff like that. So I'm personally not an all or nothing at this point. But basically, you can keep your eye out. Like, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong for keeping your eye out for deals on GPUs. Obviously, Newegg's super expensive. But if you look at, like, eBay or specifically, like, your local marketplaces and you find some guy who's liquidating his equipment, and when I mean liquidate, I mean liquidation prices. So when I bought my RX 574 gigabytes, most people in my area were asking 400 Canadian a piece. I bought mine for 166 Canadian a piece. Now that is not a 2-month ROI. I'm taking a much larger risk on that. If I wanted a 2-month ROI, I would have had to have searched for a deal that was pricing those GPUs in at around, let's see, if we're doing $1 a month, so 30, 50, yeah, so I would have had to find someone who was selling them for $80 a piece. And obviously you can't find those GPUs at that low of a price at this moment, but that's what I look for because I need to protect myself from downside risk. But anyways, wow, Jesus Christ, we're getting a ton of likes on this stream. That's crazy. Make sure you guys subscribe and you can drop more comments and questions. I'll do my best to read through them all for you guys. Alright, Goblin Loser Eddie Cases. Right now I'm mining, you mine altcoins for Bitcoin, basically like a nice hash idea. And if you like the project, I'm mining and hodling the asset. The only two I'm hodling right now is Bitcoin and Ravencoin. I'm new to trading and only have been in crypto for a little bit. Not a lot of my fiat goes into crypto directly. I would rather buy computer hardware. Yeah, that's also kind of a good way of thinking about it as well. Is kind of like not putting too much of your real hard-earned money into a speculative asset like crypto at the moment. I mean, it's completely driven by fear and greed. When there's greed, when everything's green, everything's going up, everyone's like, okay, let me buy crypto. Like, this is the next thing, you know? Like, why do I have to work? Why don't I just make $300 billion overnight? Like, it doesn't necessarily work like that without there being a downside. And there is a downside. And, I mean, this is going to set me up really well, like not the crypto and anything like that, but just the experience of going through a market like this. This gives you really good kind of perspective on what to expect over the next 20 years. And I'm not talking about like just crypto in general. I'm just meaning in normal markets. It shows you like, okay, well, what do you want to do in life? Like just things like that. I'm much younger than a lot of you guys who are watching this, but anyways, that's a tangent. Let me just go back to comments here. Okay, quickly, my thoughts on Ravencoin. I just wanted to talk about this briefly. Like when people talk about altcoin projects, like for example, there was huge hype about this Ravencoin Lite on the X16R V2 algorithm. That was a huge hype thing over the last while. I don't even know if it's on here. Let's see, Ravencoin Lite. No, they don't even have it listed on CoinMarketCap because it's such a new project. Like my thoughts on those new projects are like, okay, what's actually behind the project? I understand it's blockchain. I understand you can mine it. I understand it's on an exchange. But what is it actually going to do? Because I totally I understand that crypto is mainly about speculation at the moment. There are no real hard, tangible like use cases besides like, sure, you have NFTs where we can speculate on digital art and stuff, which I'm not saying is going to be bad or good in the future. Like I'm pretty neutral on it. I don't understand it that much. But what I would look at is like with these like altcoin projects, and the reason why I sell my Ravencoin and Ethereum Classic and Ergo and my Ethereum at the end of every month, like I don't sell it all, but I sell some of it, is because I'm looking at this of like, okay, am I in the business to speculate on Ravencoin with their blockchain changing some sort of industry, or am I here to make money on my GPU mining rigs and stuff? But yeah, let's see. Anyways, let me see what the chat has to say. Not a lot. Fiat, we went over that. No, not nice hack. Nice hack. I actually have never had that many issues with nice hash. And yeah, taxes are also a big thing that you need to consider. Let's see. In the United States, if you cash out to fiat, you have to pay capital gains. Or I believe with mining, it's actually GG Sam. Welcome to the live stream. Unfortunately, I had to remove your comment for some reasons. But yeah, taxes are a big thing as well, and that's something I also need to do with crypto myself, but I'm not too worried about paying taxes. My main goal when mining is looking at, okay, I invested money, I have equipment, which means I have a responsibility to get my initial investment back. Once I get it back, I want to make a profit on my investment, because let's say I had to wait 9 months for my equipment to ROI. I'm still putting a lot of my time and energy and resources into setting up and operating this mining operation, which means I've made zero. I'm still negative in terms of effort and time, which means in the next, like, let's say like the next 3, 4, 6 months after that for mining, I'm personally looking to realize a profit on this like mining venture or whatever. So that's basically what I've been trying to do over the last 2, 3 months now that my equipment's all paid off. I am generally selling most of my crypto at the end of every month, at the end of every week or so, and I'm not great at timing the market, so I just sell whenever. So for example, I sold some ETH like a month or two ago at 3,000 partial. Obviously, I wish I had an ETH. Sold partial at like 3,050 US dollars, and I sold partial at 2,800 US dollars. Of course, it would have been smart to sell at $4,000, but I didn't have my miner payout then. But anyways, let's see what else we got going on here in chat. And yeah, taxes are a huge thing, but my perspective on mining is I'm in here to make a short-term gain and to make some money from it. I'm not here to speculate on like the long-term success of crypto. Because the way I look at it is, if I have, you sold your Gwei? What? No, I didn't sell my Gwei. No, but in my mining payouts, I have, I don't know, you just go to Etherscan, like Etherscan or something. You go here and then they show you the gas prices, tokens, ERC. Like there's so many great resources here if you're looking for like what does stuff cost. Let's go transaction fee, gas price. Guys, if you saw my computer, it'd be ridiculous. I have about like 60 or 70 tabs always open. I have like a whole bunch of different prices open. I don't speculate on that, but I've got like AliExpress pages because I recently ordered a whole bunch of stuff from AliExpress. I ordered some mining cases. I'm still waiting on fan controllers to come, so I'll make a little video on that once I get my fan controllers, put some of my RX 570s in it for winter. Yeah, it's definitely getting cold where I'm at. I have to close all the windows now at night. It's just too cold to sleep. But yeah, gas prices are super low right now. For my mining payouts, generally what I do is I wait like a whole month to mine like half an ETH or so. And then I set my like Gwei to like 100. And of course, 100 is high compared to like 40 or 50. But the way they do it for most of the pools is they wait until like, okay, let's say you hit 0.5 ETH. And then when you hit 0.5 ETH, they're going to start looking at, okay, what's the current Gwei price? If it's 65, then it means that they're gonna do your transaction at 65 Gwei, and you'll pay like what, a $6 gas fee or something. But worst case scenario, like for example, last month and 2 months ago, gas prices were much higher. So I needed a higher gas price to get my coin out so I could cash it in the fiat. The law, GG Sam, welcome. You guys are subscribed, obviously. And I know you guys have no questions, but yeah, X79. Oh yeah, I did an experiment with my X79 motherboard I ordered from AliExpress. And I kind of killed it. Well, I wouldn't say I killed it, but I had issues with it. So that's why I did not do any updates. So I'm still in the process of, I'm in this really, really long dispute right now on AliExpress. I'm trying to get a refund for the motherboard. So I opened like a claim up on the 13th. And yeah, now it's obviously the end of September and I haven't got my $110 back. But I don't know. Worst case scenario, I'm out $110. It's not that big of a deal. Of course, $110 is a lot of money, but at the same time, you have to move on and not get too carried away. Because I mean, the reason I'm not so concerned about $100, like yes, it sucks that you get a product that doesn't work and you can't get a refund easily. But at the same time, if I sell my Ethereum when it's higher than when it goes lower, that's easily $100 difference. So I don't worry about that too much. Jeez, dude. Oh my god. I have to delete your messages. You should know why. Think for a second, GG Sam. Think. All right, let's see. Some global, your gas setting is 110 Gwei on Ethermine. Yeah, Ethermine is a solid pool. Let's quickly talk about pools. So recently, I haven't done any videos and anything for a long time, so I don't talk much. But let's see. Recently, I found this website called mining pool profit or whatever. So what this website does is it basically stacks up the profitability per, you can set how much mega hash you have. So let's say you're a whale and you have 3,000 mega hash. Obviously you guys don't. But let's say we have 100 mega hash. What this does here is it gives you an example. Is there a way to read out? Okay, but basically what this does is it takes statistics from all of these pools that are listed here. It looks at how many blocks they get, what their average luck is, and how much ETH is in per block. So basically they summarize per 100 mega hash what your profitability in ETH would be over the course of 56 days, 28 days, 21 days, and they give you an average of what pools are better to mine on in terms of payout and stuff. But yeah, what I recently did is I swapped half of my hash rate over to FlexPool because it seems to have really, really good luck across the board here for the last, I would say, probably 2 months, 3 months or so. So I swapped half of my hash rate over to FlexPool, and quite honestly, there isn't that big of a difference between the top mining pool and the lower mining pools, like maybe 0.03 ETH, which is worth, if we go here, we can quickly figure out what that difference is. What did we say? 0.03 ETH. So actually that is I must be reading this wrong. 0.014, 0.013. So it looks like the top mining pool compared to the bottom mining pool, there's about an $80 difference on 100 mega hash, which is actually a huge deal. And that's where previously, as I mentioned on my channel, I was mining a lot on eZill pool, mainly to get the Zilliqa plus Ethereum. But recently I have been considering mining more onto FlexPool. And yeah, anyways, let's see. The law. What's the best coin for the RTX 3060 non-LHR? Super easy question. So all we do here is we hop over to MinerStat. And then we look for the 3060 Ti. Actually, let's go to what to mine. GPUs. Let's see, and GG Sam and stuff. I don't recommend buying GPUs to mine on right now. I don't think it's worthwhile. That's just my opinion. It's not worth buying GPUs just to mine on. 3060 to mine on right now. The law is probably like, just do NiceHash, because you're on Windows, and I know you're on Windows. Just download NiceHash, and you'll have to go into like Windows Defender and stuff. Like, this is why I hate mining in Windows. I don't mine in Windows. I use Linux, but because you have Windows and stuff, I would download NiceHash and just mine to NiceHash. It's really simple. You just go to nicehash.com. You set up an account there. All you need is an email. It's really, really easy. You download their software and you just hit run, and they'll automatically find you the best coin to mine to. And I suggest NiceHash because I know you're a new miner. And you can mine up some Bitcoin, just leave it on the NiceHash. You don't even have to move it to like a cold wallet or anything like that, because you're not going to earn like a crazy amount from the 3060, but you can definitely mine on it because it's a solid graphics card. So yeah, for you, probably just download NiceHash. Let me see. Some Goblin has some more questions here. Probably looking at ETC, Ergo, Raven. Yeah. If you're going to just mine the coin directly, which means you have more experience, then yes, you would probably want to mine one of those coins. But currently, because I know the law is new to mining, because I know them, yeah, basically, you probably just want to stick to NiceHash. It's probably your best bet. It's the easiest way to do it. That's how I started a year ago. Just use NiceHash. It's really simple. I don't have any guides on it. Most of them are just overclocked settings and stuff. Probably not going to apply as well, but you already know this. Download MSI Afterburner. Get NiceHash set up. You might have to watch a tutorial or two on how to deal with like the antivirus, because Windows Defender will try to like lock or block you down or whatever. But yeah, that's why I hate Windows. But I mean, if you're just on a gaming PC and you have one GPU, do NiceHash. Because I have a really funny story. Like, a friend of mine, he set up a bot to buy an RTX 3080. He does like engineering and graphics and stuff. He's down in the States. And this was back in January. So he bought a 3080 or whatever. So over the course of 2 months, I'm like, hey, you should probably try mining on this. He's like, no, I'm too busy. So eventually I spent like 2 hours on Windows. We figured out how to get T-Rex mining, like T-Rex miner running, so you basically have to add an exception in programs for the Windows Defender or whatever. And yeah, he basically mined on his RTX 3080 from March, and he sold his, I think he got like zero point 0.3 ETH, which I think he sold when ETH was at like $2,800. So if you do quick math on that, he paid $1,000 for the GPU, and he made around 800 US dollars for mining. So I mean, I don't know. It's good that he actually listened and he set it up, but let's see. On Windows, that is. Yeah, mining software is flagged as a Trojan malware because it does use up a lot of resources. And I mean, there have been miners in the past that do, like, you know, you have to be really, really, really mindful when setting up your miners and stuff. And that's where you also want to consider, like, do I want to mine on my personal computer? Do I want to mine where, you know, I have my personal data and info? But I mean, at the same time, Google has all our information, Facebook has all our information. So I don't know. You just have to decide of what level of security you want to run with. But for the most part, just download NiceHash and you'll be just fine. You're on a MacBook? That's funny. You can't really mine on a MacBook. They're not designed for mining at all. The last thing I wanted to talk about that I don't really have anything to show here, I guess I can open up Paint. There you can see I played League of Legends. Let me open up Paint. The last thing I wanted to talk about briefly, or maybe I'll just open up a notepad, is is GPU pricing and where I think this stuff's going to go. KYC is everywhere if you do the digging. Yeah, KYC is important to do, especially in your country. Obviously, if your country, like in Canada, bans the exchange that you'd been using previously, you probably want to get off the exchange and collect all your information so you can do your taxes and stuff. But yeah, let's see, pointed out with Google and Facebook. Yeah, like, quite honestly, the internet has so much information about us. We're just ignorant about it. It's like you search stuff on YouTube, that all gets stored. You use Google Drive. Like, yeah, it's your information, but I mean, I don't know. It's a trade-off. Like, nothing's free. The internet is not free. All we do in exchange for using the internet, for the most part, for those of you who are dumb like me and use Google, is we trade our information for ease of access, or ease of access, just to be able to access things, connect with friends, and chat like that. There's a lot more secure ways of doing that. You can use like other browsers. You can use lockdown Linux softwares, like OSs as well. But yeah, GPU pricing is really bad right now. I know, GG Sam. I remember we talked about GPU pricing back in like November and stuff. It was so much better. Use Firefox. I mean, Firefox is solid. But yeah, what I noticed actually on local computer shops over the last 2 months, I saw 6600 XTs. It's just, let me search what they're going for now here. Because I was able to buy a 6600 XT for like 600 Canadian dollars plus shipping and taxes, so I probably paid around 700 because taxes are a pain in the ass, but you have to pay them. That's just the way it goes. But yeah, I remember when 6600 XTs were $600 Canadian. Then last month they were $650, and now they have ASRock 6600 XTs available for purchase for 800 Canadian plus tax, which is absolutely ridiculous. And that's why right now I'm not looking to buy any GPUs or anything like that, because it's just not a good time to enter the market. There's a time to get in and there's a time to get out. Anyways, I'm probably going to wrap up the stream soon. I don't really have anything else to say. It wasn't that concise of a stream, but we did a stream, you know. We chatted for a bit. Some people who stopped by. Since we had about 38 people stop by the stream, a couple people chatted in chat. I mean, hopefully someone got value from the stream. I didn't really have anything super planned, but I just wanted to do a quick check. Yeah, $600 Canadian for a 6600 XT. You can do the, like, to British pounds, you're probably looking at, I don't know, 400 pounds or maybe even less. I think it's about half. So it'd be like 300 pounds for 6600 XT is what I paid. And now they're going for like 400 pounds or something crazy like that. And that's obviously where you're from. But do you think Monero mining is still good? Personally, I wouldn't recommend it. It just uses too much power. So at the end of the day, like, your family will be pissed off that you're running up a huge power bill. I mean, 100 watts isn't going to cost you that much. Like, if you open up, you can just do, I don't know, I'm pretty dumb with math, so I just always use Google and stuff. But if you just do quick math, 100 watts times 24 hours divided by 1,000, so we get kilowatt hours. So it's 2.4 kilowatt hours per day times 30 days times your electric rate. So I pay 12.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So if you use 100 watts 24/7 for 30 days, it's going to cost you $9 in electric, which means in order to CPU mine profitably, and most CPUs use more than 100 watts, you have to make more than $9 a month on the CPU. Also, yeah, CPU mining, I've briefly looked into it. Like, I heard a lot of people were hyped up about Raptorium and stuff. I look at it the same way as GPU mining. It's kind of like, what's your ROI? What's your risk? How long are you going to run this for? Because the way I look at crypto is like, we're in a big bubble, and the question is not a question of like, is this going to become legit? Is this going to take over the banking system? It's more like, when is profitability going to go away? Of course, nothing's financial advice, but I don't know. I just look at it as like, okay, if I'm going to do GPU mining, I'm in it to make money. If the ROI is too long, if the risk is too high, and if I can't get my initial investment back plus make a profit on that, I'm probably going to stay away from it. Now, this is where if you have other skills, like let's say you know how to let's say you have skills, resources, and know how to like quickly flip stuff on eBay, or you know how to build gaming PCs, or you know people who are looking for GPUs. It's like, let's say you have some cousins or relatives or friends who want RTX 3060 Ti GPUs. So maybe you'll be like, maybe I'll buy a 3060 Ti GPU. I'm going to mine on it for a month. When I'm done, my friend said he'd already buy it off me for what I paid for. It's got receipt, it's got warranty. So maybe that's a way you can also kind of de-risk mining. So there's a lot of different things to consider if you want to get into mining. It's like, have an exit strategy. The exit strategy doesn't just have to include completely breaking even on crypto. Maybe you decide to mine like kind of like what I did. We bought that 13 GPU mining rig, so I'm going to mine Ethereum Classic. So far, I've probably mined around 10 ETH Classic, which if you do quick math, that's probably only around $470 US. All right, take care, GG Salmon. For those of you who need to go, no worries. Take care. But also having an exit strategy in the sense of, how do you want to sell your hardware? Are you going to go the eBay route? Oh, if you want to do eBay, maybe set up an eBay account. Make sure you know how to list your stuff up on eBay, because when prices crash and you decide, I want to sell my equipment now, it's good to already have thought through, how am I going to move my equipment? If you're going to do the gaming PC route, maybe you figure out, okay, this is the kind of CPU, motherboard, hardware I'm going to use to move this equipment. Or you're going to decide, you know what, I'm just going to sell my GPUs off at whatever the market price is. So let's say RX 570 is now selling for 80 Canadian dollars. I paid 160. So regardless if I broke even or not, I'm going to decide, okay, profitability is not there. I want to sell it. Maybe I just decide to sell all 10 of my RX 570s at once at $80 a pop, and just get, I don't know, you get $800 and you save all the time of doing individual like selling and stuff. But that stuff I've thought through a little bit, so that when it comes time to actually exit out of my equipment, exit out of my crypto, I already have an idea of where to go, so that when, basically all I'm saying is you've thought through it, you're a little bit more prepared. It's kind of like, if I had hindsight for mining, boy oh boy, would I have done things a lot different. One, have much better overclock settings. Like, that's where I spent probably the first 6 months out of the 12 months I've been mining now, just learning, continuously improving on my overclock settings. Oh, my RX 5700 XT started at 180 watts for about 57 mega hash. Then Team Red Miner had an update in October, November, December. I can't really remember. But anyways, when the Team Red Miner 0.8.0 came out, I spent 2 days figuring out how to optimize. Not 2 days. I spent like a whole evening, like 6 hours or whatever. After I was working on something, I just spent the whole evening like figuring out, oh, hang on a second. I can get 55 mega hash. Instead of it pulling 170 watts, it'll pull like 140, 150 watts. So I was able to save 20 watts per GPU. You do that across multiple GPUs, and you can start saving and optimizing your rigs in a lot more efficient ways. So yeah, overclocking, undervolting is, it is an art. You have to tweak about it. That's where I want to make more videos on kind of like, what is SoC voltage? How do you want to underclock, undervolt like your RX 6600 XT? Let me open up that video. I don't recall when I made it. I just need to find it because I want to show you guys these settings that we need to look at. Need to let this ad play. But there are a lot of things that are involved in mining, and overclocking is just one of them. So let me find where I have this setting open. One thing that I was playing around with recently on my 5700 XT GPUs is the SoC frequency and voltage. So I was able to shave off another 2-3 watts per 5700 XT, and I did this across all of my Navi GPUs. So what I did for SoC voltage, if you have any 5700 XTs, which not a lot of people actually have because they kind of sold out when mining started to get popular, is look at SOC frequency, try to get that as low as possible without reducing your hash rate. And then with SOC voltage, you use a command, I think AMD-info, and that's where you can also see like, okay, just because I inputted, like specifically, let's use this as an example here, the RX 6600 XT, when I was undervolting this, like when I share my settings, it's not like I go somewhere else on another YouTube channel and search up what settings are best to run. What I use is my previous experience on undervolting and overclocking other GPUs, and I use that to like trial and error test what's going to work best on this GPU. So with the Navi GPUs, what I think about is specifically with the 6600 XT, I'm like, okay, this is their second generation on 7 nanometer. The die is really small, so we can most likely run a very, very, very low voltage because we're only pushing 30 mega hash. We don't need a high core clock. So first, I'm going to find out, like, let me try to simplify this. When I'm overclocking, I first start with setting core clock, memory clock. You don't have to touch voltages. Core clock, you want to find what's the, you have to do them kind of hand in hand because too low of a core clock and memory clocks are not going to be as effective. But basically the way I look at it is, first I start by finding, okay, what's the stable core clock? What's a stable core memory, memory frequency? And once I find the limit of like, okay, this is the highest memory frequency I can get while keeping efficient, then I find the lowest core clock that I can pair with that, specifically with mining ETH. Then I move on to voltages. So with the 6600 XT here, I moved on to, okay, let me see how low I can get the voltage. With more, I think they have like more power tool implemented into Hive OS or whatever. So what I found is, okay, I can run stable at 610 millivolts. And I'm speculating I could actually run a lower voltage. So when I was doing this trial and error, I set 600 millivolts. But what I found is when I input 600 millivolts, it tried to automatically undervolt to like 590. But the problem is there's a limitation within like the overclocking limits or undervolting limits of the software. So when I input 600 millivolts, I go to AMD-info and I'm like, oh, hang on a second. My GPU is running at 767 millivolts, even though I just inputted 600. So then I start to learn about, okay, there's actually limits to how low or how high a voltage can go. And it's really important to be aware of that. And that's where I quickly learned, okay, input the overclock setting, open up AMD-info. Does the clocks actually correspond to what I input in like my dashboard here? Because what I found is the overclock limits were set that I could not undervolt below 600 millivolts. And I don't know, a lot of people have different overclock settings online. I generally don't copy anyone's settings. I just try to find my best. I'll use them as a reference guide. I think it's really smart to look for what are other people doing, use that as a reference, and then use your own experience and just, use your own experience to figure out what's going to work best for your card. And what I found is a lot of people, because like, let's say with AMD GPUs, there's a lot of different variables at play when undervolting. You have core clock, memory voltage, memory controller voltage. Because there's so many different variables, it can be hard to tell like which one caused your GPU to crash. And this is where the only way you can kind of figure out what causes your GPU to crash is trial and error. And then also a little bit of luck at the same time, because you're guessing, like, let's say my memory controller voltage, I try to get everything as low as possible, so I draw as little power, so it runs stable. So these settings, just an FYI, these have been running 100% stable for the last 2 months. So I don't know. There's also silicon lottery that goes with it, but just short form when overclocking, try to run the lowest voltages possible. If it crashes, specifically with like these Navi-based AMD GPUs where you have core voltage, and memory controller voltage, you just want to adjust each individually until it runs stable on the lowest possible voltage. And at some point, you also have to decide, you know what, maybe this isn't the lowest voltage, but it's running stable, and I'm still very, very profitable with how little power I'm drawing from the wall, and you leave it and you let it run so you don't waste any more of your time doing overclocks and stuff like that. But anyways, I don't think there's anything else we really need to talk about in this live stream. For those of you who did tune in, hopefully you got something away from it. Next live stream, when I do one, hopefully I do one, I will be more concise with kind of content things that I wanted to cover. But basically my main points in summary here, do I flash and modify my VBIOS? Is absolutely 100% I do. I think you really should do it for all your cards. I have like 2-second tutorials that I did on my YouTube channel here. Oh, we have a live stream going. Fascinating. What does this look like? 9 likes, 4 people watching. Great. Yes, I do flash and modify all my cards. So I made a couple of shorts on the channel here. If we go to home, they're not that in depth. on how to mod your VBIOS. But the reason I didn't make in-depth tutorials is, one, didn't want to spend the time on it, but second, they're really easy. If you want to know how to mod the 5700 XT VBIOS, let's just watch this video together and I'll explain. It's really, really simple. So this here is for the 5700 XT. You need to download a software called Red BIOS Editor. For Polaris GPUs, there's one called Polaris BIOS Editor. And the whole idea here is you're copying the memory timings from the lower memory kind of settings to the higher ones. So basically, it's kind of like, how could I say this? It's like if you're driving on the highway, when you hit fourth gear, so let's say this timing here is fourth gear, when you shift up, you're basically running with a lot. I can't do a car analogy. Basically, you just want to copy all the memory timing. So really easy to do. Let me show you here. You just click on here. Like for the 5700 XTs, you have to adjust two settings. It's the ref timing and just copy memory. I don't know. I could make a tutorial on this. I don't know. I'm just not the best at explaining it, I guess, on the fly. But yeah, Polaris BIOS Editor, it's really simple to do. So if you have any Polaris GPUs like 570s, 470s, 580s, 480s, you download Polaris BIOS Editor. This is actually probably the easiest to use. All you do is you go click one click time. I can't even read. Yeah, one click timing patch or whatever, and it automatically does all the BIOS modding yourself, or automatically itself. Then you just save the BIOS, re-upload it in Hive OS, and you're good to go. Like, I don't know, it's not that complicated. There's also a lot of great tutorials on how to do this because, as I mentioned, I only started mining last year in around September, August. So I didn't know anything about mining before that, but I learned. So, for example, if we want to know how to BIOS mod RX 5700 XT, I'm going to search it, and then I'm going to find a tutorial for it. Oh, let's see. Red Panda Mining has a tutorial. I'm personally going to look for Guntis Vitolins. He's got some really good tutorials. Let's see, Guntis Vitolins. So I was watching a lot of this guy's videos. He had some really good info, specifically on how to, BIOS mod the GPUs, specifically when this stuff was pretty new. So I was watching like end of life mining. So now there's a 5600 XT. But let me see here. I think he called it like secret sauce. But there's a lot of great resources. This guy's got a lot of good technical resources. Then there's a lot of YouTube channels that I watch that are not in English. I only speak English, by the way. I watch a lot of Russian channels. I can find them on my... let me quickly see what they are. And I can recommend them. I don't speak Russian at all. I just use Google Translate, and that's how I get a lot of good info as well. This guy here has good info as well. Let me search him up. Crypto Leo, this guy I watched for how to flash my RX 5700 XT Gigabyte BIOS. So let's see, RX 5700 XT Gigabyte. So yeah, I watched like these videos here. If I don't know what they're saying, I just go here, translate to English, and boom. Now I can read basically what he's saying. So I don't know. There's a lot of great info out there, but there's also a lot of garbage information out there. So I don't know. Let's see. What did you say? Red Panda Mining has some really in-depth tutorials on how to flash, but IDK how to manually modify. Okay, which GPU do you have? I'll stick on the stream for a bit. I don't have anything else I need to do. Let me know which GPU model you have, and I can actually help you out. Okay, let's see. I like to mine secure networks. I'm planning to set up my R9 390. What GPU are you currently mining on? Just put the model in the chat. We can see if we can figure out which software you need to use to modify it, and I can give you a little bit more pointers on that. If you're still in chat, that is. Chat. Yeah, alright, anyways. The R9 390, I personally would not be mining on it unless you have really, really cheap power. I had one of those GPUs. I sold it when prices were good. I think I paid like $220 back in 2018. That was my first gaming GPU, and then I recently sold it 2 months ago at the end of July for 200 Canadian dollars. So what? Cost me $20, but I sold it. The two unmodded are R9 390 and RX 584 gigabyte. Okay, first things first. Okay, one, you can mod the R9 390 VBIOS. I personally would not. Okay, the tools that you can use, there's VBIOS Editor, VBE7, VBIOS, no, Hawaii BIOS Editor. I've done a lot of BIOS editing. I've edited R9 290s, R9 380s, R9, no, not 380s. I've done 280s, 290, and R9 390. So I've modded all those VBIOSes. At the end of the day, it's really not worth it. Quite honestly, I would not be VBIOS modding your R9 390. I had some issues where I couldn't flash the VBIOS back easily, so I would personally suggest do not look at VBIOS modding the R9 390. The only thing you can do for modding the 390 is to lower the core voltage. You're not going to be adjusting any of the memory timings because that is irrelevant. And the reason that's irrelevant is because if we use our brains here for a second, we can hop over to R9 390 specs and we can get an understanding of, like, for example, you know when YouTubers make predictions on how much mega hash a GPU is going to get when mining? Well, it's really not that hard to do if you understand how the algorithm works, and you can kind of look at different GPUs and get an idea of, let me step back a second. So let's say the RX 570 with these specs here, a 256-bit memory bus, where is it? So yeah, 256-bit memory bus, when overclocked to 8 gigabits per second, this is 256 gigabits per second. It can get around 30 mega hash on ETH. The R9 390, on the other hand, has a much higher memory bandwidth of 384. So when I initially was looking at mining on this GPU, what I was looking at is like, okay, clearly this is not going to be memory bottlenecked. The only thing that's going to be limiting it is its core clock frequency. So I use this thinking of like, okay, memory's not an issue, so I don't need to overclock this. If anything, I can underclock this and I'll still have enough memory bandwidth to hit over 30 mega hash. So if I wanted 30 mega hash on the R9 390, that means I need to increase the core clock to around 1125 megahertz. But yeah, long story short, you don't BIOS mod the R9 390. The only reason you would do that is to undervolt it, which I've done successfully, and then I flashed it back to normal so that when I sold the card, there wouldn't be any issues. Modding the RX 480, this is where you're going to want to use the Polaris BIOS editor. Fuck me. Hang on, I'm going to go black screen for a second, and I'll see if I have the software installed, and I can show you how to use... Yes, I do! Yes, I do. You guys are in luck. I don't have a professional, like, stream setup or anything like that, so that's why I have to blank things out. So this here is the Polaris BIOS editor. Let me find an example of VBIOS. I'll be right back. Just bear with me, guys. This is your not prepared YouTuber. Alright, so this here is a VBIOS in the Polaris BIOS editor. So the way you BIOS mod this is very simple. You just click open BIOS, you open up that VBIOS file, and you just hit click, one-click patch memory timings. Okay, so if it's a Samsung if it's an Alpida Hynix card, it's going to say applying good Hynix and Alpida mining memory straps to the card. Then all you do is you hit save BIOS, save file as, modded, Sapphire, Pulse, Alpida, Hynix, BIOS. Also a quick tip when you are naming your VBIOSes, specifically for Polaris cards, if it's a stock VBIOS, you're going to want to label it as RX 480, then the memory type that it has. Alpida, RX 480, MSI, Armor, Alpida, Hynix, VBIOS, .rom or whatever. And then when it's modded, the way I do it when I flash multiple cards is, like, specifically when I bought that RX 574 gigabyte mining rig when I was mining. Anyways, when I was building it, I would name, like, my VBIOSes as, like, I'll just do this as an example: RX 574 gigabyte, Sapphire, Pulse, Alpida, and Hynix. And the reason you want to label the memory type is because I have in the past completely bricked GPUs when you flash the wrong memory type. Even though it's the same VBIOS for the card, it's the wrong memory type, and I flashed it to the wrong card in a sense, and I completely bricked it. So this is where, of course, experience and costing yourself in a lot of issues comes in handy. But yeah, it's really easy to do. You just hit one-click patch timing, okay, save VBIOS, label it with the proper memory, memory timings that it supports, whether it's Alpida and Hynix, and then re-upload it to the card. And you may have to select Force Flash or BIOS Update, and then it uploads, you restart your rig, and you've got a modded BIOS now. It's very simple. One thing that I will mention for the 400 series of cards is you generally need a higher core voltage than the 500 series. That's just my experience anyways. So I have an RX 480 4 gigabyte and I have to run like 900 millivolts for it to run stable at 1100 core clock. Like versus my 500 series cards, I can easily run like 850, 810, 800. For most of my 500 cards, I run like 800 millivolts on them. All right, let me read the chat a bit more. Yeah, I think Guntis Vitolin's made some really, really, really useful content out there. All right, the card I flashed is a Gigabyte 5600 XT. I've never owned one of those, but I have seen them. Let's see. Is that the same for all models? The one I have is the Asus R9 390. What did you mean? Is that the same? You'll have to. I know I rambled on for like 2 minutes there, but you have to give me a bit more info there. And for those of you who are watching the stream, if you subscribe, you're more than welcome to wait 5 minutes and put a question down in chat, and I will answer it the best as I can, or I'll say I don't know and we'll move on. But basically, for all R9 390s, doesn't matter on the model whether it's AMD or if it's built by a board partner of like Asus, Gigabyte, or whatever else there is, MSI. The specs are all the same, and basically, like, for example, you don't want to BIOS mod the R9 390 because the memory bandwidth is plenty good enough. The only thing that's limiting us is our core clock frequency. It goes the same thing. Like when I'm overclocking an RX 570, I look at these specs, and just from experience from overclocking the cards, I can look at, okay, when I want to mine Ethereum Classic, the limiting factor here, because it's memory dependent, is probably going to be the memory. That's why we can only get 30 mega hash, and the core clock is only around 1170 megahertz, depending on how ridiculously hard you're going to overclock your cards. It's understanding how much memory bandwidth do you have, how high can you clock the core clock. Does the algorithm like a lot of cores? Like Ravencoin, for example, there's a huge difference in hash rate between the 570 and 580 because the 580 has a lot more cores than the 570 does. I think it has an extra 300 cores or so. So that's why the RX 580 you can lock in at like 1100 core with 2000 memory. You'll get 15 mega hash really, really easily. But with the 570, because it has less cores, you have to overclock it a lot harder to get 15 mega hash, which basically means you're going to be using a lot more power. But anyways, I kind of want to wrap the stream up. I don't have anything else particularly to mention. I think we covered a lot of things. It was a really messy stream. It's the first stream we did, but it was more just to do like an open Q&A. Also, if you're mining Ethereum, I do suggest checking out mining pools, profits.com or whatever. They have some pretty good info here if you want to compare different Ethereum mining pools and what the profitability is like over the course of 2 months, 28 days, 21 days, or the last 3 days in which pool to mine to. And I'm just going to state again, I have moved half of my hash rate over to FlexPool. The previous pool that I'd been mining to since January, and a little bit before that even, was Ezel Pool. So Ezel Pool is costing me quite a little bit in profitability at the moment. It's not that bad. So you get, 1.16 ETH on Ezel. And the top pools, when I would look at it, Ethermine is probably a all-around good pool to mine on. You can see probably around 1.3 ETH. So yeah, that's probably around, I would say like $60 to $70 better when you find a better pool, one that has better luck and stuff. But I don't know, a lot of these numbers change a lot, and that's why I'm not going out there and saying like mine on this one pool over this pool, but I am just mentioning what I am doing, and you guys can decide for yourselves. Like, I think pools that I would give thumbs up to mining to are Ethermine, because it's such a large pool. It's going to hit blocks very, very consistently, so you're always going to be around that 100% luck, which I don't have to even just say. You can see, okay, 56 days at 105 luck, and then it averages out at around 100 luck. And if the pool mines for long enough, in theory, you will always have 100 luck. But the reason a big pool can be better than a small pool is when the block rewards vary. Like, for example, I made a really, really quick kind of useless... let me go back to my channel here. Just want to quickly show something. Remember we did a quick short on our channel where I was showing, like, for example, the reason you might want to mine to a big pool like Ethermine that has well over, I think, 100 terahash at this moment... you correct me if I'm wrong, from last time I checked, it's got a lot of terahash, is that when ETH block pricing goes insanely high, like when the block rewards were upwards of 100 ETH, which at the time was like 400,000 US dollars, which is kind of insane. When you're on a bigger pool and they're hitting blocks more consistently, you have a higher probability of being in a pool that gets distributed that block reward. So when, like, let's say in a theoretical world where all the blocks are only worth 2 ETH, then yes, it shouldn't theoretically matter which pool you mine to, because at a certain point you're statistically speaking supposed to hit a block after like mining for, like, let's say you have a 3 gigahash, statistically speaking you're probably going to hit a block within a month or something like that. But the reason you might want to mine on one of these bigger pools is because they hit blocks more consistently. So when there's only, like, let's say 20 blocks at 100 ETH, your pool that hits blocks more consistently or more often because there's a higher network hash rate is most likely going to, like, hit that big ETH block and distribute that payout to you, which means over time, when there are those fluctuations in block rewards, which currently there aren't, and that's why profitability does not vary that much at the moment, but when there are, you'll see like some pools will be much higher up than others. And yeah, all around, Ethermine is a solid pool, and currently I'm testing out Flex Pool, and I'll see how that goes over the course of a month. But anyways, I'm going to wrap up our stream there. Nothing else to say. I am mining Raven coin on my LHR card still, just holding that. When hopefully, I'm just praying to God here, if Raven coin goes up a little bit more, I will be cashing that out, taking in some of my profits. Well, not profits, just cashing in a little bit, because I did buy that equipment, still have to pay it back. And when I mean pay it back, it's not like I took out a loan, it's just if I invest $1,000, I'd like to see my $1,000 come back. Or I might even sell the GPU to recoup some of my money. But anyways, I'm going to wrap up the stream there. Nothing else to say. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you guys have any questions, you can always put them in the comment section below. Doesn't mean I'll be able to answer them fully. I might say I don't know, or I can't answer that question, or I can't help you. But you may as well leave it there. And I can hopefully help you there. Anyways, take care. We'll do another stream sometime in the future. Bye-bye. Goodbye.